Hey guys, it's Greg, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about two shows that I saw recently, and I'm going to be a little bit all over the place as I tend to get when I'm really excited about stuff. So this, as you are, I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited about this because I'm going to talk to you about The Mandalorian and I'm going to talk about The Witcher. Now, before I get into that, I guess I'll give a little bit of spiel because it feels a little weird for me to be talking about this, but I really wanted to make sure that I made this video and shared my thoughts on these two shows. But what feels weird about that is kind of, it almost conflicts with a philosophy that I've been kind of getting more into and developing lately, and that just simply being that no video game, no movie, no TV show, no book, no artwork, nothing. There's nothing out there that is for everyone, and everyone has individualized tastes. And so even if I really like something, I should not expect that you will like it. I can just tell you why I like it, and maybe it's something that you'll check out, maybe it's something that you will enjoy, and then we can talk about it a little bit afterward. Or even if you don't like it, we can have that discussion too. But I've been thinking about it a lot lately, thinking in terms of video games and such, and I think we've kind of gotten into this kind of, it's almost cultural, where if you don't like X game, you're wrong. What do you mean? This is the best thing ever. Oh, you don't like it? But we kind of pressure each other, and hey man, you really got to check out this game, you really got to pick it up. I just think that it's not the right way to go, and I think it's a little bit harmful to talk about things in those terms. I feel like there's a lot of pressure out there. We have all these amazing deals pop up. We're just finishing up a sale at the Steam sale. We're finishing up the Epic Games sale. We're finishing up a Nintendo Game Store sale. We're finishing up, all these different sales, and it's almost like there's pressure. Like, you need to get in. You need to buy these now. But it's kind of it. I don't think that that's a good thing, because you probably will end up getting something that you don't really like if you get sucked up in that. And I think that it's very important to know what it is that you like, and if you like something, do it. I think that that's something that really gets lost in all of this, because the marketing machine is out there saying, hey, you look at this, buy this now, it's amazing, and you should do it, and it's at a great price. But anyways, I'm getting off track here, but so with that in mind, what I'm going to be talking about now is the reason why I like these shows, and I'll also talk about the things that I didn't really like about them, although they're fairly few and far between. But anyways, if you haven't seen The Mandalorian, and if you haven't seen The Witcher, and you want to see those shows, please stop the video and go watch it, and you come back and rewatch and find out what I think about these shows, because I'm not really going to be getting into too much of specifics, but I'm definitely going to be talking about things that are going to be in the spoiler realm. So again, I want you to enjoy it if it's the kind of thing that you are interested in, and so forth. So anyways, without further ado, first, I want to talk to you guys about The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian, I don't know how it is that I avoided spoilers for it as long as I did. I was a few weeks behind when The Mandalorian first came out. I ended up getting in a few weeks into it, just because of my schedule and other things that I was doing. And I don't know how it is that I avoided those spoilers. But when that first episode comes out and you see, I think it was the first episode, it might have been the second episode, you see Baby Yoda, it's like, what? But what it is that I really want to say about this show is, as far as I'm concerned, for me, The Mandalorian is the best Star Wars I've ever seen. I have not yet seen Rise of Skywalker. It still, we'll see about that. But The Mandalorian is the best Star Wars that I have ever seen. Now, just to put that in a frame of reference, I am a big Star Wars fan, as you probably know if you've watched my other videos. I grew up loving the movies. I've played all kinds of games. I've played, video games, card games, collected the toys and so forth. I read a handful of the novels, not a ton of them, but a couple of the novels. So I just want you to put that in reference. I'm not a super huge hardcore fan, but I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not the casual fan who, oh yeah, maybe I'll go see it. And I am definitely all in. So when I say that it is the best Star Wars that I have ever seen, I just want you to understand why I'm saying it that way. What is it that makes it so good? Well, for starters, The Mandalorian knows what it is, and it sticks to it. It doesn't try to do things that it is not. It doesn't try to, be bigger than it is, or it doesn't try to be lesser than it is. It's exactly what it is. It is a live-action series. So what a series has over a film is that it's got a longer runtime. You can bring more to the story. You can have more seemingly minute details kind of trickle in to add up to something big, and I think that it does all of that very, very well. One thing that I found particularly interesting, it is very much Star Wars. It's definitely a moment that you start, you know that you are in a Star Wars universe. The universe of the show is very well crafted. You're seeing the alien-filled cantinas. You're seeing, you're seeing a bounty hunter walking around in Mandalorian armor, and it's all just very fascinating, and it's wonderful. It's very well crafted. It doesn't feel like a movie. It feels like a TV show. And what I equate it to most is I equate it to like Quantum Leap in terms of the pacing, and it's like if Quantum Leap was made now. It has a very nice production quality, and probably even more so than your typical sci-fi show for television. It's really, really well done, but it has that kind of almost slow pace, and how they have that, again, it's definitely, it knows it's not a film, so it takes its time, and it allows things to really set in, but it also goes into some things that are very exciting, some things that we haven't really seen much in the films, and so forth. Like, for example, we really don't know much about Yoda's species. This is the child. It's not actually Yoda, but it's of the same species. Now, that's actually another very interesting thing. I don't know as if it's been said anywhere. I don't think it has been, but what is the origin of this child? Is it just a member of the same species? Is it a clone of Yoda? We don't know. Yoda was hundreds and hundreds of years old when we were seeing him in the films, and this child is 50 years old, but because of the timeline, it could easily be that this is a clone of Yoda. The way that it seemed most probable to me would have been when Yoda fought Emperor Palpatine in the Senate room at the end of Revenge of the Sith. He left his cloak. He left his Jedi robes in there as he was fleeing, and it could easily be the case that hair fibers or what have you led to the cloning. So it's entirely possible that the child is a clone, but it's entirely possible as well that it's just another member of the species. And I'm very excited to see. It seems like they're setting things up so that the Mandalorian will indeed go and try to return the child to the species. So we'll get to learn more about. I hope ultimately we'll learn more about the species. We'll learn more about the home world and the culture and all of that. So that's very exciting to me. I don't know as if it's ever been delved into much. Certainly not in the new canon, which for those, I imagine that if you're watching this, you know of this. But just in case, when Disney bought Star Wars, when Disney bought the property, they basically took everything that wasn't one of the current TV shows, everything that wasn't one of the established movies, and said, all right, these are now legends. These are not canon. These are not things that definitely happened. Maybe we'll bring them in later, but they were not things that actually happened in the Star Wars universe. So they basically opened the door for them to create new things. So it hasn't been established. Maybe in some of the novels that are now legend, things have been gone over a little bit more in depth, but we don't have that in the canon. So it's very exciting to see what the possibilities are. Is there a planet of these super powerful Force users just running around and doing amazing Force things? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see where it goes. It's also really, really cool to see more of what does it mean to be Mandalorian. We saw Boba Fett, we saw Jango Fett, and not much else in terms of the Mandalorian. So I kind of grew up thinking, oh well, he's a bounty hunter, but he kind of just took that armor from someone that he had killed or something like that. But we're learning more that no, it's a code, it's a creed, and it's a way of life. So that's really interesting to get in and see more of. I don't think that Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic made it into canon. In fact, I'm fairly certain that they didn't. So we did see some more of the Mandalorian lore in that, but again, it's not canon. It's not really, hey, this is Star Wars. So with that in mind, it's really interesting to see and learn more about Mandalorians and who they are and what it means to be them. But again, I'm all over the place here. But The Mandalorian, it was fantastic as far as I'm concerned. 8 episodes long. It's very doable. It is on Disney Plus, and if you have access to that, I would definitely recommend that you do that. Would watch it if you're at all interested in Star Wars. I also would say that they do have a free trial that you can get if you really only want to check it out. But I think that there's going to be plenty more on the service that will keep you sticking around. But again, personal preferences. So again, The Mandalorian, really, really well done. I think that Jon Favreau is just killing it. He nailed Star Wars when it comes to The Mandalorian, and it was really awesome to see all of the different guest directors and producers and filmmakers getting in on the action. So I actually read an article where I'm pretty sure it was Bryce Dallas Howard was saying that she had to tell her kids, hey, we don't talk about the baby, we don't talk about it, because obviously they would have known months in advance, and that's a pretty big spoiler and something that fans would have been very excited to see. So that I just thought that was pretty amazing in and of itself. But anyways, again, my verdict is Mandalorian is a must-see if you are a Star Wars fan. Moving along with regards to The Witcher. The Witcher is one that I went into not knowing much about as well. I had seen the trailer, or at least one of the trailers. I'm not sure how many there were. But I didn't really know much about the world of The Witcher otherwise. My history has been that I basically I've played like an hour of the first game. I really wanted to get into it, but it didn't really grip me. And then Witcher 3 was this huge huge thing in the gaming world. It was, you know, touted as one of the best games. I think it's, yeah, I mean, certainly of the year, certainly of several years. Maybe even people were saying it's one of the best of all time. I'm not sure, but it was just a huge, amazing thing when it came out. It kind of passed me by. I didn't have an opportunity to get in and do it because of schedules and what it came out on and so forth. I'm really hoping I can go back and do it on Switch, but that's for another day. That's for another day. So I kind of went in. The expectations that I had for it were basically based off of the trailer, and I can tell you that it really lived up to those expectations. For me, The Witcher, it scratches the same kind of itch that Game of Thrones did. You know, it's an adult show. You know, there's lots of violence and swearing and nudity, and you know, at the risk of sounding boorish, I like that in a show. I like it to be adult in those ways. I don't really like it to be in like you know, a CSI kind of like, you know, horrible things happen to everyone kind of way. I like it to be in a fantasy setting, which it did. It scratched it very well for me. I think that Henry Cavill was amazing. I did not care for him as Superman, but that was kind of a stacked deck because I don't really like Superman in terms of a character. Or, you know, all right, that's for another day because I'm focusing on The Witcher. The Witcher is great. It much like the Mandalorian, it knows what it is and it tries to stick to it. And one of the things that it does really well, in my opinion, is it sticks to the rules that it establishes for itself. It has a magic system and it sticks to that. It doesn't try to just throw a curveball and all of a sudden you can do time travel. All of a sudden you can here's a giant robot. You know, it's very grounded in that reality, and I love the cinematography. I love the choreography. I think that the battle scenes are tremendous. You know, the way that you see them just kind of twirling their sword. You know, basically the sword play it's masterful, is what I would describe it as. You can tell that the people that you're following, when you're following them, they really know what they're doing, and that again, I'm going to say it a number of times, I'm sure, that I just think that Henry Cavill is going to be. I think that as more and more people watch it, they're going to say, you know, wow, this guy is a star. You know, even more so than Superman, because again. No, we're focusing on Witcher. So, The Witcher is, again, if you like Game of Thrones, as far as I'm concerned, The Witcher is the next thing for you, because it's a fantasy world. It strays from Game of Thrones in two pretty significant ways, in my opinion. I would say the production values are somewhat lesser. With Game of Thrones, for the most part, it was more of like a daytime world. You know, the lighting was fairly bright. There's more of a dingy tone to The Witcher. I have to imagine that it was on purpose, but to me, just watching it from the outside, it seems less realistic because it seems like it is just this fantasy world, and it is exactly what you kind of have come to expect in terms of like there's a lot of shadows and so forth, but there's that, but also there's less of the politics that you were getting in Game of Thrones, and that was kind of, I think, what set Game of Thrones apart was the intrigue. It's kind of like how The Walking Dead sets itself apart from zombie films and zombie everything, because zombies are everywhere, but it sets it apart because it's a human drama set in the zombie apocalypse versus, you know, just, all right, here's a couple of survivors, and they're just constantly running. And it's not about the zombies; it's about the people. So Game of Thrones does that, is where it's this high fantasy world, but it sets it apart because it's more about the intrigue and the political struggles, and who's going to end up on the throne at the end of it, and so forth. The Witcher doesn't have that, but it's still very, very well done. I think that the writing is very good. I think that it was all very, very well acted, and the production values are very good. But again, it just seems like it's a step down from what Game of Thrones was able to do. Now, there was one other thing that I was hearing a lot about on the internet with regards to the pacing and the timeline, and people were like, "Whoa, what's going on here? I don't like this. Everything's out of order," and so forth. And they were kind of looking at it as a negative. It didn't strike me as such. For me, I mean, maybe it's because I heard all of the rumblings and so forth on the internet. But for me, it didn't faze me when I saw, oh, well, this is present day, this is a flashback, and so forth. I was kind of able to follow it to a reasonable degree of success. Now, maybe that is because I also really like Futurama, which they bounce around a lot as well. So maybe I was just prepared to watch it, to watch The Witcher and see what The Witcher was doing because of my past experiences. But again, that didn't faze me. I guess let me know what you guys thought about that aspect. Were you able to follow it as well? I thought, Yennefer was awesome. Going from the young woman with the physical impairments and so forth, and then transforming. Oh my goodness. Episode 3 was so gross. It was so gross when they showed what she had to go through for that transformation. Oh, awful. Oh, so gross. I'd be okay with it if I never saw that again. But otherwise I probably would rewatch The Witcher, because I thought that it was a great season. I would like to see what happens from here. I'm told that it kind of parallels with Witcher 3 because of the characters who are in it, but I don't know how closely it follows again. So I realize I haven't really said much. I've just kind of been talking for the past 10 minutes or so. But I hope that what you're taking away from this is that I do really, really like both shows. And I know from the outset I said, hey, if you haven't watched them, then I want you to go back, and I want you to stop, and I want you to watch the show. So it's kind of silly for me to say this, but if you've come along with me thus far, I hope that you will give those shows a try. I hope that you'll give them a go, for as much as my opinion is worth. Because I feel like I really, really liked them, and I want to share it with other people, which, I don't know, maybe that's what people were supposed to be getting at with all of that culture that I was talking about earlier with, oh, you have to try this, oh, you have to get this, but my opinions on things are obviously are my own. You may like the things that I like, you might not, but for those people out there who share my exact opinions or likes with regards to media, you definitely got to get out there and you got to watch it. So, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope that this video finds you well, and I will talk to you again in a few days.